Hello guys, Red is Great here. Welcome to my final gubernatorial prediction. This video is going to be pretty short because there's nothing really to... It's not a very eventful cycle for governor's races. Most of these states are either safe or then you have like the one true toss-up, which is New Hampshire. So, anyways, let's go and get this started. Montana, North Dakota, Missouri, West Virginia are safe. Same with Vermont, which is weird saying. Phil Scott's running for re-election and he's going to win easily. He's extremely popular. He's a giant rhino, which is Vermont. You kind of got to be to win. He wins pretty easily. He's very popular. Delaware is safe. Washington. So there was a lot of hype over Washington early on. Republicans have a fantastic candidate in Dave Reichert. Was a former representative, very moderate, sheriff of King County, the largest in Washington, which has Seattle. But you had the Washington primary, which is a kind of indicator of the national environment, and it kind of showed that the state was never really in contention anyway, and I've been saying this for months. And despite my really bad 2022 prediction, I predicted a red wave. I had Washington Senate safe, even though a lot of people had it likely, even lean in some cases. This race was never competitive. Even the Dem candidate is very bad. He's very weak. He's not very popular. The state's not competitive. I mean, you can argue for a likely margin, but the state's not competitive. It's not going to be close. I think Kamala wins the state by like 20-something. The Dem probably wins by 15 or 16. Still an overperformance, but again, doesn't really matter. It's Washington. The state's not competitive. Utah, I want to briefly talk about because you have Spencer Cox, which is he's a rhino, put it simply. I don't like to use the word rhino, but he's very moderate. He's pretty anti-Trump. He's really friendly with a lot of the national Dems. It's interesting. And he actually nearly lost his primary to Phil Lyman, who was he's a hard right conservative Mike Lee type. And there's been hype along a lot of Democrats. They're saying, well, they have a strong candidate, which I think he's a state senator. I think his name is Brian King. And Phil Lyman, he's doing the most mega thing possible and running a write-in, and he's polling pretty well. And Spencer Cox is not the most popular guy, but this is Utah. I think, Spencer Cox is kind of crappy for a, down ballot Republican in Utah. I don't think it's going to be close. I think he outperforms Trump, but the state could be, the margin's going to be interesting because it can kind of show the way Utah's trending, but the state is safe, not competitive. Indiana, North Carolina, and New Hampshire are the only quote-unquote competitive states, but Indiana's safe. You have Mike Braun, the incumbent senator who decided to run for governor, and he's kind of struggling. Democrats are flooding into this race, and they have a good candidate, but this is Indiana. Unless there's like a Richard Murdoch situation, which I don't see it's happening. Election day is in 2 days. I don't know why Democrats are flooding this race. It's kind of stupid. Mike Braun's a pretty mediocre candidate, but it's Indiana. I think he underperforms Trump slightly, but regardless, it's not competitive. You also have the Libertarian who ran in 2020, run against Donald Rainwater. He took like 12% of the vote because Holcomb was super unpopular. So, North Carolina, it's crazy. Safe Democrat. Why am I saying that? So, you have Attorney General Josh Stein, who's basically a generic Democrat. I mean, his electoral record is it's nothing spectacular. He's won all his races by stupidly close margins. I mean, he's fairly popular. He's not really controversial. Generic Democrat. But then you have Mark Robinson, the lieutenant governor, who won by almost 4 points in 2020, outrunning Trump and all the other Republicans on the ballot. And his campaign has been a disaster, and I've been saying this for a long time that Mark Robinson has always been a bad candidate. Only reason he got close in 2020 is because he ran for a race that no one really cared about, quite frankly. Because in 2020, remember, you had Tom Tillis was up for re-election. You had the presidential ballot. You had Roy Cooper up for election. No one really cared about Robinson. He was just some down-ballot Republican. But within the past 2 or 3 months, we have seen the insane amount of scandals, basically admitted to be a Nazi, cheating on his wife, all sorts of absolutely insane stuff. And even before this race was kind of pulling ahead in Josh Stein's favor. I don't think there's polling that has Stein winning by like 20, which is not happening, quite frankly. I would be shocked if he wins by double digits, but I think Stein wins by 8 or 9, better than Roy Cooper, just because how bad of a candidate Robinson is. I mean, Trump won't even associate with him. Vance refuses to associate with him. All of the down ballot Republicans refuse to associate with him. For a while, this race was looking like it was kind of done for Robinson, but I mean, it's safe, and I would be shocked if Robinson even wins. That would be probably the greatest upset of the night. But Stein wins by 7 or 8. He could win by double digits if he's having a great night. But expect this race to be called within 30 minutes to an hour of polls closing in the state. New Hampshire is a state. I'm gonna be honest. I don't know where to put New Hampshire. I do not know. Ayotte's polling pretty well, but then you have to consider this is New Hampshire. Kamala's gonna win it by a comfortable margin. It's trending left. I mean, Sununu's popular too. You got to keep that in mind too. He could help. Ayotte out a bit. I don't know where to put this race. There's so many arguments in favor of this race staying, but I think Ayotte wins narrowly. If Kamala's winning New Hampshire by like 10, then she's probably losing. But I think Ayotte narrowly wins. She's running a pretty okay campaign. The Democrat, pretty sucky candidate, Joyce Craig. But, I mean, nothing really to talk about here. These are very boring ratings. All the states are either safe or, you have New Hampshire, the one toss-up. So, it's my final governor prediction. If I'm wrong, feel free to laugh at me. And I'll see you guys later.